There's a lot of bad things going on in the world today, from the threat of ISIS to terrifying stories of paedophiles preying on our children. But how much of this should we or shouldn't we share with our children? Are we guilty of oversharing these days, Jane?
I think there's an element of that. I mean, there was a fascinating story this week that Childline has reported a surge in terrorist-related calls from children, and they said it's their biggest ever spike in this area because of the Paris massacre. And I find that really troubling because, I mean, my 11-year-old, we have the news on and stuff in the house, but she hasn't really asked me about it at all. I've had to sort of stop my husband being too because he gets a bit panicky about her going places, but she's not really asked about it. And my theory is that if she asks me, I'll have a conversation with her, but I don't want to sort of sit her down and say, now look, there's some really bad people out there and da-da-da, because I sort of feel like it's impinging on the innocence of childhood.
Yeah.
But there's that thing of, if she does ask me, I don't want to dismiss her concerns, but equally I don't want to overshare and say, well, yes, actually, all of these people got shot dead and it could happen where you are. And
well, the reality is it's so scary to us.
Yeah.
So you can imagine how a child would be terrified by it.
I mean, I think we are really guilty, both Mark and I, of oversharing, and have only just realised that actually that's now causing real problems. I mean, Kiki, she's 8. Last night he came in, she was just dropping off, he went, I can't believe Turkey and Russia. I just can't believe it, the standoff. And I'm like, Mark, no, she's dropping off to sleep. But then eventually, 5 minutes later, I'm talking to him about Turkey and Russia, and that's over her head. And actually today, and this really does make me sad, I'm taking her for her first appointment to see with somebody for anxiety.
For general anxiety?
General anxiety. And I think she's got a really vivid imagination. We talk a lot about the news. Obviously, in our job, we have to read, we have the newspapers all the time. And she's taken so much of it in.
Is her anxiety about safety?
Yeah. Her anxiety is
It'll
about
be
safety.
interesting when she gets back from this afternoon to find out actually where it has stemmed from.
Yeah.
Is it something that's big and out there, or is it something that's internal?
The other aspect that I worry
like
about too is
sponges, aren't
illness. You know, for example, when my daughter was struggling with her cancer, there was a suggestion, now bearing in mind that she was given a 1.5-year prognosis and thankfully at least lived 7, but there was a theory at one point within the family that the children should be told, and I was very against it because, as it turned out, she lived much, much longer than the doctor had suggested.
How old were they?
They were 10 and 7 when she died.
Yeah.
But I really was against it because I think, why would you give a child the worry of all of that for years and years? And children are very instinctive. They know if a parent is ill, no matter what that illness is. So they pick it up naturally anyway. And I think these days there is too much. I mean, it depends on the age of the child, of course, but I think there's too much of, let's tell them, you know, let's make sure that they're prepared for it.
Trying to clip my wings with that and not talk about so much in front of them.
I mean, in terms of news and that sort of thing, that's what, do you remember Newsround when you were growing up? I always thought that was such a good way of taking, you know, big world events that were happening and explaining it in a child-friendly way. There's First News, which is a newspaper which is aimed at
That's a really good newspaper.
It's a fabulous newspaper, and I think if you are concerned, guiding them in that direction so that they're not being bombarded with too many facts that the adults have, but explained in a good way for kids.